Nate, welcome to Tread Talk, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. I see the weather over there in Colorado is starting to shift. You guys are starting to do some snow wheeling.
Yeah, it's my least favorite time of the year, but it is what it is.
Nice, nice, dude. When I lived in Colorado Springs for a couple of years.
Oh, word.
It was always my favorite time of the year, man. I love the snow. I love getting out into the mountains when it's snowing out. So
I love the snow. I love being up there, but it's just hard on the trucks and it's hard on everything. I've been stranded a couple times, broken CV axles, and it's not fun. But it is what it is. It's you live and you learn.
for sure. For sure, for sure. Dude, the reason I wanted to have you on is I was talking with Davey Jordan from Overland Weekly. We started talking about the new Landcruiser, and it kind of just sparked my imagination. And I remembered that you had bought one, and so I wanted to kind of talk to you about that. But first, I want to talk about your 80 series Landcruiser build. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a 93. Well, I'm not actually sure what year it is because the parts from Japan don't really make sense to me. Oh, there it goes. Okay, the parts don't really make sense to me because the axles are not labeled the same years. I don't know, but it's a 93 or 94. It's a turbo diesel. It's the 1HDT. Pretty bare bones build, just a 2-inch
Nice.
lift, and that's pretty much it. It's got a 2-inch lift, 35s. Well, they're like 34 and a half, so whatever. But um, that's pretty much it. It came with a factory drawer system, that was from Japan in the 90s. It's part of the active vacation package, which is kind of cool. It's actually really rare. So I didn't have to, do a fancy build
Dude,
out on it.
yeah.
So yeah, pretty bare bones. Just did steel bumper and winch and just the necessities.
Nice, man. Yeah, I didn't know that was the factory option. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're actually incredibly rare. I found it from an importer in Virginia, and I had my fifth gen 400, and I honestly was just really tired of. It's funny because I bought another IFS vehicle, but I was really tired of breaking CV axles in my Land Cruiser. Um, I just or my 4Runner, and it just was getting really annoying. So I was like, I need a solid axle truck, and I didn't want to go buy a Jeep. So I was like, I guess I'm buying an old
Right.
Toyota, and so that was that.
Dude, nice, nice. Okay. Well, I guess moving on a little bit. What made you decide to go with the new Land Cruiser?
Well, so originally when I had sold my 4Runner, I sold it right when they announced the 250, because I knew my that was kind of what I wanted to do in the direction moving forward. Then I realized it wasn't going to be, out for like a year and a half, whatever. So I actually had a Tacoma before that, and then I decided I wasn't going to buy the 250 because I thought they were going to be crazy expensive with the markups and stuff like that. And Toyota actually, I don't know what happened, but they were actually going for MSRP. So I picked it up and pretty stoked on it. Pretty stoked.
Dude, heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a sweet vehicle. Obviously, the looks are incredible, but one thing I'm hearing a lot of people talk about is like the parts in general. Like they're worried about wheeling them hard and they're going to end up breaking like the aluminum control arms.
Hmm.
That's just one, but
Yeah, so I don't know. I have a differing of. There's a
um
lot of dissension. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a lot of crap on the internet about the 250 and stuff not being a real Land Cruiser and stuff like that. And I think for the fact that it's not actually a Land Cruiser 300 series. It's a 250. It's a Prado. I think it's incredible. I think for a lot of people, they're
Right,
making
right.
they're making the move coming from a 4Runner or a Tacoma, and the new platform that Toyota is using is considerably beefier than the old one. So I don't know if people have taken that into consideration because just the control arms, the bolts, the lug, even the lug nuts or the lug bolts are bigger. They're now using the Tundra style lugs. They're 14 millimeter. Um, tie rods are thicker. I don't know. So we'll see. It seems to be. I've wheeled it a couple times, not hard. I mean, I've taken it up a couple mountain passes and banged it off rocks and stuff like that. But I haven't done any. I'm just about to get my 35s put on it next week, so I haven't actually got to wheel it super hard. But
Yeah. Nice, nice. No, that's awesome, man. I I've just been super interested. Like I said, it's a sweet looking vehicle, but I'm curious as to how it's going to perform long term. You know, especially with the people that are beating them up.
Yeah.
You know, down here in the South, we've got a lot of mud and we have a lot of rocks, and so um, yeah, just seeing how that would last long term in a place like Windrock. I don't know if you know anything
Yeah.
about Windrock, but
Yeah. My family, my father actually lives out
yeah,
just
so
north of Nashville. So, um, and he told me he moved out there and he was like, man, wheeling out here is significantly different and harder on your rig than Colorado, because Colorado has tons of granite where it's actually has traction.
yeah, exactly, and like you know, it doesn't ever get super muddy out in Colorado. You know, you get a little bit here and there, but you know, here it rains and it's a mud pit, and
Yeah.
you're not going
Yeah,
anywhere
exactly.
unless your rig's built for it. But
Yeah, I'm real curious to see.
so, do you have any like big plans for the?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No,
No, you're fine.
I do have not big plans, I shouldn't say, for the 250. I'm gonna build it out. I work in a corporate job, and I started doing that. About a year ago now, where I got into the corporate world, and it's been beating my time up. I don't have much time, so I'm trying to move towards traveling full time again, like I did last summer. I don't know if you were part of my Instagram back then, but and I kind of want to build the 250 to do that, to be self sustainable, kind of like the 5th gen that I had was. Um, but the biggest
Yeah, yeah.
downfall of the 250 is the gas tank, in my opinion. The gas tank is tiny. So that's the only
Gotcha.
thing. But
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, oh, how many gallons is that gas tank? Do you know?
I believe I think it's an 18 gallons, so like usable as like 17 or 16.
Okay, wow. Okay, so it's a bigger vehicle. And my 3rd gen is an 18-gallon tank. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it gets about the same range as my
wow,
my
that's
5th gen did, but my 5th gen was also getting 11 miles to the gallon, whereas this one's getting about 15, 16. So
right.
it's a little, it's a little annoying, because then I go in my diesel, my 80, and I get like 22 miles to the gallon in that thing, and it has a 26-gallon tank, and I can drive 450, 500 miles in it. So we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that's so nice. I've been considering turbo diesel swapping my 3rd gen for a while now, and just for the purely for the gas mileage and the torque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not fast, but man, they're great off road, and fuel mileage is incredible.
Exactly. Um, so obviously, what part of Colorado do you live in? Actually, just curious.
I live in the Springs, Colorado
Oh,
Springs.
okay, nice,
Yeah,
nice. So you're familiar with all the popular areas. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, we've probably wheeled some of the same areas then.
definitely.
What what do you love about Colorado the most when it comes to the overland and off road space?
I mean, granted, it's close to everything. I mean, there's a lot of, just being in the western part of the states is obviously, for you guys, it's a lot harder out where you guys are, because you guys don't have a ton of public land. Whereas like out here, we can drive, an hour and go camping in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say probably that, honestly, because I'm not a big into like the super touristy stuff. I like to just go on BLM or National Forest and camp. So that's probably my favorite part.
Right. Nice. Yeah. I mean, it's accessible and it's nice. You know, I live kind of in Middle Tennessee. So if I want to go to the mountains, you know, it's a 3-hour drive to get to where I'm going. And then I have to start on the trail and then I have to get up the mountain.
Yeah,
and
a lot
so,
more planning.
you know, you guys have it good out there for sure with all the public land.
Yeah, it's definitely, we take it for granted, I think.
But for sure. But so have you always lived in Colorado Spring or Colorado in general?
Yeah, I grew up here, and then I lived in Tennessee actually when I was in high school for a little bit. We lived in White House, Tennessee, and then
Okay, nice.
moved back here about a year later. And then right after I graduated high school, when I got into my career field, I moved down to Arizona, lived in North Phoenix for a little while, and then moved back to Colorado because I just needed to be closer to some family. So
For sure, for sure. Dude, that's crazy. You lived in White House. I grew up in Hendersonville, which is like 20 minutes away.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so you spent a lot of time out west in your life. What's one of the favorite trips that you've ever done?
Oof, that's hard. Um, hmm, that's tricky. I mean, man, the West is so good. I honestly have to say probably, and this is gonna annoy a lot of like the hardcore guys who like to go wheeling and beat up the rigs, but I think one of my favorite trips was the Pony Express. Um, it was basically you start just south of,
Nice.
you know, Salt Lake City, and then you go all the way to the border of California, Nevada, and it's I think it's like 500, 600 miles, something like that. I had to carry extra fuel, and it was just very remote. And that part of middle Nevada is there is no one out there, and it was like it felt like real adventure. You know, you're not just like doing a trail and then there's a
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
and you know what I'm saying. So I think that was probably my favorite.
No, that's awesome, man. That's on my bucket list for sure. I've watched so many videos about the Pony Express, and it's just, God, it looks brutal, but it looks like a ton of fun.
It's not like actually it is hard on your rig if your rig's not like in tip top, it'll blow ball joints out of stuff because it's just a lot of rutted roads, dirt roads, and that aren't really maintained, lots of sand. And it's like the way Nevada sits, it's like a bunch of ranges and then it's like a big basin, then another mountain range. So you're basically doing this the entire time. And it's pretty brutal on your rig. Plus, it's 600
Yeah, yeah.
miles, and you basically have the option to get gas once, and that's pushing it. You have to drive like an hour out of the way to get gas. So it's you know it's pretty hard on just yourself. You have to be prepared because by like the third day, I mean, it only should take you like 3 or 4 days. I took it real slow, but by the third day, I was kind of like eating ramen and like I ate all my good food in the beginning and ran out of food. So, but it was fun. It was really. There's also a lot of like historical stuff there. They have like markers set up across the whole trail. And I'm kind of all into like I think the Midwest history or the Western history is so cool out there with the mining and the telegraph and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Man, so was that in your turbo diesel or your 90, was it 93 Land Cruiser?
Yeah, no, that was actually my fifth gen Foreigner. I did that one right before I sold the Foreigner and got the 80.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. So but that was when I was
Okay,
like,
nice, nice.
I don't know if I want an IFS vehicle anymore because I blew through. I had the SPC upper control arms, and I just had so much bad luck with those things on that trip, dude. They were knocking and rattling, and I just was so over IFS at that point. But here I am again with
Yeah,
an
yeah,
IFS vehicle, so we'll see.
yeah. Man, I feel you. I am having to replace ball joints on my third gen every 6 months just because they're just failing. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just my steering will get sloppy and loose. Every by the fifth month, and I'm like, well, crap, here we go again.
yeah. You're like, yeah, here we go again. Yeah, it's kind of annoying because it's like I love the solid axle. I really wish, in my opinion, I truly believe that like the perfect Toyota would be a fifth gen Foreigner with solid axles. Because I loved that Foreigner. The front end of those things for what I was doing. I was on 34s and I had stock lower control arms, but I had done suspensions like that. I could not keep that front end together. I blew the front diff out of it, and that was when I blew the front diff out of it. That was expensive, and that was what made me. I had Toyota replace it, which again was cheap having Toyota do it because I couldn't get. I was on a road trip when it blew. So I couldn't get parts and stuff shipped. So I had to
Oh
take it to
gosh.
a dealership. I had to limp it to a dealership. So that was kind of what got me to get into solid axle, and I'm hoping that the 250 will hold up. I'm a little scared about the electronics on it, to be honest with you, the way the transmission is with the
Mhm.
hybrid and the transmission. Um, and I've even noticed mine's about to hit 5,000 miles now. Um, and I mean, I've wheeled it definitely. I've taken it up tons of passes here in Colorado, and it seems to be when it's cold, the transmission shifts a little clunky. And I don't know. There's been some rumors
Mm.
about transmission issues. I don't know about that. Thankfully, it's all warranted, so I'm not too worried about if something does break. But we shall see how it does long term. I'm pretty happy with the way it crawls and the way it flexes, and the fact that you knowing as a third gen guy how hard it is to fit 35s on old IFS Toyotas. So being able to put basically a cheap
Yes.
spacer lift and fit 35s is pretty insane.
Yeah, it's crazy how manufacturers are really starting to go toward 35s fitting on a stock vehicle. The Bronco did it. Jeeps have kind of always done it, but now it
Yeah.
looks like Toyota's kind of starting to get into that game. Toyota's always the late adopters, so
Yeah.
maybe in the next few years they'll have vehicles with stock 35s, but who knows?
Yeah, Toyota's weird because I think they have they have a lot larger demographic of people that buy these off-roaders, So they have to kind of make them, you go buy a Jeep, you're buying a solid axle Jeep and it's going to ride like crap, and it's just kind of how it is. Whereas like Toyota, you have, especially with some of the newer
Right.
ones, they're so dang expensive that you're getting like, people that just buy them to go to the store because they look cool and stuff like that. So they need to be comfy on road and comfy off road. So I am glad Toyota brought the Trail Hunter out, though. I think that was a good middle ground for the hardcore off road guys and the guys that don't need all that crap. So.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think they're, like I said, they're slowly making their way um, to kind of please the off-road community a little bit more. We've always taken Toyotas and modded them, but now it looks like they're trying to get more serious with the stock ones, which I love to see, of course.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's so fun. I've been dealing with it a lot on my Instagram with getting the 250, with just how much like angry people are about the new Toyotas being 4 cylinders and hybrids, and I don't even know. It's not a real Landcruiser; it's a Prado, and it's just, I don't know. It's quite funny. So the fact that Toyota is still doing what they're doing while getting raged at by all the hardcore off road guys is pretty cool.
And then the people complaining about the 4 cylinders, dude. I mean, those 4 cylinders are making more horsepower than their 6 cylinders really ever did.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny too because people don't realize that like Toyota is known for their turbo 4 cylinders, like all the way back to the late 80s. They were like one of the first adopters of turbo motors. So I'm like, Toyota knows how to make a turbo, and I don't really mind either way. It sounds cool. The turbo flutter on that thing is crazy, so I don't really care.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's the people don't understand. We're in America. They want their big V8s,
old V8. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not. You don't need a V8 anymore. Technology's come so far. 4 cylinders can do what a mid 2000s V8 can do.
Yeah.
Could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think it's crazy. I've always been like more of the I hate saying overland because it's such like a cliche term now. It's so overused since COVID and stuff like that. But
right.
I've been more on the like, overlandy not soft roading, but I don't build my rigs to be these monsters that can crawl up, all these things. But, and I think that's where Toyotas really excel. When a Toyota's on 33s or 34s or even just 35s on the newer rigs, not weighed down to oblivion like most overlanders do when they put like 10,000 pounds worth of crap all over them. But, and you just wheel them like that. You don't put crazy lifts on them. So I think they are perfect. But the problem is that everyone tries to mod them to 37s and, gear ratios, and they start putting 200-pound tires on each control arm, and then they wonder why they're snapping CVs. And so I don't know. It's a give and take with everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And the guys that do it, they do it right most of the time, but you got to have the money for it. And at the end of the day, do you want a $100,000 Forerunner?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing. You can do it. I mean, even the guys from Descent, they're building their 250, and that thing's a monster. It's on portals now on 40s, and all they've broke is I think they broke their steering rack or something like that, which is pretty incredible that thing's doing what it's doing, and it's basically a stock Landcruiser on 40s and portals. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on the new Landcruiser and just see what you thought, since we kind of connected over social media, and I don't know many people that have one yet, so I was just curious and wanted to have you on for a short little interview.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm pretty stoked. I'm curious to see where this thing takes you. I think it'd be cool to talk to a bunch of people in the community, something like that. So.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we do well here. Where can everybody find you on social media?
It's just Nathen, Nathen.zb, And that's it. It's just on Instagram.
Awesome. Everybody go give him a follow. Appreciate y'all listening. Nate, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, man,
Appreciate
I appreciate
your time.
it. Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yep. Have a good one.